Now, look, I know you're both ready to fire up on this one because speaking of Donald Trump, he is expected to pull out of the Paris Agreement. Some Nationals MPs are now urging Peter Dutton to vow to do the same ahead of next year's election and revisit the coalition's support for net zero by 2050. Now, I know Matt Canavan is ready to fire up on this one. But so, Sam, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Good or bad? I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm assuming don't do it.
What's my answer going to be?
You're going to say don't pull out. Keep going.
I'm going to say I hope Peter Dutton does. I want to see Anthony Albanese re-elected. And when you go through the votes and the seats that Peter Dutton needs to win, he doesn't need to win them in National Party seats. He needs to win them in metropolitan cities. He needs to win them in areas that prioritise climate as being, one of their top concerns. So if he wants to pull out of Paris and Matt's group wins the argument in the Nationals and Liberal Party room, wonderful.
Yeah, but the problem is, Sam, is that we can't even meet our 2030 targets. We've been warned by AEMO that we're not going to get there. Surely the best thing to do, if not pull out, cancel 2050, slow it down. We're not ready.
No, I've seen a number of different things saying that we'll either hit it or only just miss it. And I think at the end of the day, if you get 90% of the way there, that's better than 0% of the way there. If you can do a good job, then let's try to do a good job if it's not an excellent job.
All right, let's go to Matt Canavan. Look, you've been vocal about this. Scrap net zero altogether. Is that still what you want, Matt?
I've always said that it's an absurd idea. We're not going to meet net zero by 2050. That's not going to happen, and no one else is. And this is somewhat independent of Donald Trump. Yes, he's going to formally take the United States out of Paris, but the US hasn't been taking it seriously to date anyway. Last year, under Joe Biden, the US produced more oil than any country in any year ever. They're not doing this. And China, of course, is building 2 coal-fired power stations a week. Indonesia have been building coal-fired power stations like they're going out of fashion. They've done so to such an extent they have effectively stolen our nickel industry. We've lost basically all of our nickel industry to Indonesia over the past year. So Sam says about doing 90% of something does good. The question is, what good is that to Australians? How does this improve anyone's life in this country? It doesn't obviously do anything for the environment, given we're only 1.1% of global emissions, and nowhere else in the world, including pre-Trump's America, is taking this stuff seriously. Now, all Trump is going to do is actually put into writing and put into words, in effect, the very thing that America's been doing to date anyway. Now, maybe that will be enough of a wake-up call for us to get off this train, because Sam talks about the risk of Trump's tariffs, which just sort of boggles my mind that this is going to be a 10% tariff, apparently, a 10% tariff on Australian goods. Well, what about the energy price tariff that our businesses are facing to date? We pay now 2 to 3 times more for energy, for electricity and gas, than they do in the US. That is a much, much bigger tariff on Australian business than anything Trump's going to impose through a trade deal or a trade policy change.
So a 10% tariff doesn't bother you, Matt?
Why don't we fix the issues in our own economy? Yes, it does bother me, Sam, but the point here is that there is much bigger issues in our own economy that we can fix that would pale into insignificance the issue of a 10% tariff. We fix our energy price tariff. What about the labour laws tariff? The ridiculous changes this government's presided over that's torn up the Paul Keating industry bargaining process and taken us back more than a generation, back to 50 years ago.
All I can say, Matt, is I hope Peter Dutton...
the immigration mess this government has presided over?
I hope Peter Dutton says exactly what you're saying right now, Matt, because I think if he gets up there and says exactly what you're saying right now, I think Albanese gets elected in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. What you're saying, what you're mapping out is anathema. You thought Kamala Harris was going to win a month ago too. You didn't get that very well. I mean, I think this idea that somehow people all around the country, including in our cities, don't care about their electricity price bill. I don't know what planet you're on. I mean, the people in a city, Sydney and Brisbane are struggling too. They are struggling as well. Everybody is struggling. Who said that? What sort of straw man are you putting up that I said people don't care about their electricity bills?
You're claiming... You said earlier, Sam, you said that this policy that I'm adopting is really only apparently about winning votes and seats in regional Australia. I don't believe that for a second. I think people in the cities are struggling as well. Everybody's getting poorer in this country, and everybody wants a solution. The last election and the election of the Teals, voting Teal and Green in particular, is a luxury good. When people are doing really well,
Matt, at the end of the day, we've got 5 coal
we're not no longer
power
living in a life of
stations.
luxury, Sam.
We've got 5 coal power stations that need to be turned off in the next 5 or 6 years. Now, what we replace that
Let's
with...
build some new ones.
So we're going to
Why don't we build
brand
new
new
ones?
coal-fired power stations like a third world country, or we can replace it with renewable power.
I would prefer, Sam, to keep those jobs in our nickel industry. Why do we want to ship them off to Indonesia?
Yeah, but look what's happened here.
It's worse for the environment.
Look what happened here in New South Wales. They've had to extend the life of the coal-fired station here, Sam, because we don't know what we're going to do to keep the lights on.
Build a new one.
Yeah, because a Liberal government signed up to it to turn it off 5 years too early. That was the Liberal Party that did that, and the Labor Party applied some rationality and some sense and tried to fix it up.
Yeah, but what happened to power bills going down under Labor? Because I thought that renewables
Ukraine happened, Tamika. Ukraine happened. Russia happened. This is not new.
Sam, we were promised $275 it was going to be.
And then Putin invaded Ukraine.
Oh, come on, Sam. There needs to be more options, surely.
How come Americans aren't paying those power prices? If the Ukraine invasion happened on their planet too, and in fact they're more connected to the issue obviously than we are.
Their power prices did go up. They had 6, 7, 8, 9%
yeah, but
increase.
They're not up now. They're at record lows. Their power price at record lows, whereas ours are still at record highs. It's not Ukraine, Sam. It is our insane obsession with power systems that don't work.
Matt, right now you are disagreeing with just about every serious energy commentator in Australia.
Well, that's not the case. I'm actually on an energy policy inquiry, Senate inquiry right now. And even, Sam, even the government's Australian energy market operator, their regulator, said the other day that they can't guarantee power prices going down under the government's policies, despite the government's promise to us all that it would lead to lower power prices. There is a clear problem in our system, Sam, that we do not have power that can be relied upon. And every country that's adopted this pathway has ended up with much higher power prices. We're going down the same route as Germany, as the UK, which now have the highest industrial power prices in the world. And they're losing their manufacturing industry as before our eyes. So look, all I'm saying is that life's about choices. And for too long, this country has skated by on the commodity price boom, on China, and we've avoided tough choices.
And
I think the bill is about to come due. We're going to have to make some tough choices.
Well, we do have to make tough choices as well. But I want to make another point, and I think you alluded to it before as well, Matt, is what about the big emitters? We've got China, for example. They emit. They're not copying anything. And yet here in this country, Sam, we're going backwards. We're going broke because of our energy prices.
Sorry, what's the question?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is what Matt said earlier. You've got China, big polluters. They don't cop anything worldwide. So why should Australia be copping it as well?
I'm not saying that at all. I don't know who you're arguing with here, but that's not my point.
All right. Well, let's move on then because...
Well, just to be clear, we signed an agreement last year at so-called COP28. That was the last climate change conference before this week's, which is this week at COP29. Last year, we signed up to an agreement with 130 other countries to end coal-fired power. China, India and Indonesia did not sign that agreement. They did not sign up to it. So why are we doing this?
That's what I was trying to say. They're big emitters.
And letting other countries off scot-free.
They are big emitters.